Widows was directed by Steve McQueen after 12 Years a Slave, Shame, Hunger. Three fantastic movies. If you haven't seen any of them, I highly recommend it. And this has a lot of people. And this film is about three men who are trying to pull off a robbery and it fails miserably. The three women left behind, their three wives, are in mourning when somebody comes around saying that the money that they were stealing was from a certain person. And they have 1 month to give back this money, $2 million, and they have to pull it off in some way. And so Viola Davis, one of the wives, brings together the other two wives, Michelle Rodriguez and Elizabeth Debicki, and decides to form a sort of a team to pull off this heist where they can get some money and they can get out of this situation. Steve McQueen is a great director. Like I said, his other three movies are fantastic. 12 Years a Slave, as you know, won Best Picture. They're very unflinching, raw, and brutal movies to watch. And this film is also very brutal. It's also very raw and honest, and it's also, when it has to be unflinching, very unflinching. Once again, he has shown that he is one of the best directors. He really did such an amazing job with this film. This is one of my favorite movies of the year. I wanted to review this last night, but I decided not to. I decided to take the night and I decided to sleep on it for a while, and then today, right now, I thought I'd give you like a proper, concise thing after I've had some thought, after I have run it in my head multiple times. And the more I thought about it, certain things that I had maybe an issue with early on when I was thinking about the film, like certain plot threads I thought could have been a little better. When I went back in the movie and I looked through, multiple scenes that I remember watching, it suddenly seemed a lot less problematic. In fact, it seemed not problematic at all. Like it all made sense as we went along with it. But there's so much other stuff this film does right. For example, the three leads in this film are fantastic. Viola Davis gives one of the best performances she's given in years. She's excellent here. She's a very tortured woman. Her past is also not the best in terms of her own, personal life. It's just been a train wreck, and seeing all of these brim up to what she's about to do is amazing. Also, very good in this movie is Elizabeth Debicki, who I've seen in a lot of movies now, and maybe you've too. She's in Great Gatsby, and she was also recently in Cloverfield Paradox. She's a very good actress, but she never really gets much time to shine in those movies, and here I think she really just knocks it out of the park. She was fantastic. Also, Michelle Rodriguez, this might be my favorite performance from her. She's great. She's really good in a lot of movies, but she's usually, to the side, she's like the awesome, hardcore person. Here, she's a much more broken, vulnerable character, while also being the same, but we've seen her before in movies, and the blend of that, we get something really great here. And the supporting cast also, we've got Liam Neeson, John Bernthal, Colin Farrell, Carrie Coon, who you may know from Fargo. Who else is there? There's a lot of amazing people in this. Daniel Kaluuya is also here, giving a fantastic performance. He's menacing in this movie. There's one scene with him in particular on a basketball court. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Great scene. Great scene. Also, the cinematography in this film, fantastic. Steve McQueen's films always look beautiful. They're edited beautifully, and here is no exception. There's a few shots in particular that are so beautifully framed that once you finally get this movie on digital or Blu-ray, the One Perfect Shot Twitter account is gonna go crazy with this movie. There are so many things to choose from. It's quite fantastic. Also, Hans Zimmer's score. Very contextual music. You have to hear it with the movie. I think outside the movie, if you hear it before you see it, it might sound a little, cacophonous maybe, but it works in a very contextual way. It's that kind of a score. And I think he did a great job. It's very intense. It's used in very pivotal moments of the movie. It's not used throughout, but when it is, it's fantastic, and it really fits the film overall. But of course, all of this is encompassed with some of the best writing. This is also written in part by Gillian Flynn, who wrote Gone Girl, Sharp Objects, and she's done a fantastic job, and with Steve McQueen. The script here goes into a lot of different places. This film could have fallen apart. There's a few subplots that are brought up that you might think will be completely useless and may not work as well while watching the film, but they all come together. There's a few subplots in particular that I was a little concerned about, because for a while you have a lot of threads and you're waiting for some point where they connect, particularly one with Colin Farrell's character. You're waiting for that to somehow figure into what's going on. And once you start to get to that point, it gets much better, and I'll admit it started to like I was actually blown away by some of the twists, which also I gotta say this film is very unexpected. If you're expecting a generic heist movie, you're not gonna get that. You do get the heist, and when it happens, it's amazing. It's one of the best sequences of the year. It's very intense. It constantly has you on the edge of your seat. It doesn't handle things in a conventional way. It also has a strong message around it in terms of how women are represented and how women are shown. And I think that's also a really powerful message. In fact, this film is going to be an anchor point in that regard, I think, for future, because I think now people in Hollywood are going to look more towards people of color or women and or women and really give them more roles of such varieties. I think this film is going to be a benchmark in that regard. You get a lot of amazing stuff here for these characters. Also, Cynthia Erivo, I should talk about her. She was in Bad Times at the El Royale. Fantastic here too. She does a great job. She's also very pivotal to the movie in a very different way. As with the sexism, it also handles racism very well. Like I said, going with Steve McQueen's, trademark of making some stuff that's very affecting and does not hold back on showing some of the more terrible details of it. There are a couple of scenes in particular which are very disturbing, and that's definitely more gut-wrenching territory. It's also important. It's important to watch that, and the scene is not just for the characters, but just the social aspect of it. I'm trying to think if there are any major flaws I have with this movie, and I really don't. It has a slow build, but it works. It works. It's a very good way to really set up this film. I think once you finally build and you finally get to the ending, it's worth the wait. It's worth everything. That's more my concern. You should have a slow build, fine, but if you're gonna do it in a way that it builds to something amazing, it's totally worth it, and this film absolutely does that. I'm gonna give Widows a 10 out of 10. Thank you very much for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon, including Girl in the Spider's Web this evening. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.